now.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for coming. I'm going to briefly give an overview of lifestyle medicine, and then I'm going to go into one of the 6 pillars, which is nutrition. Lifestyle medicine is the use of evidence-based lifestyle therapeutic approaches such as whole food, plant predominant dietary lifestyle, regular physical activity, adequate sleep, stress management, avoiding risky substances, and pursuing other non-drug modalities to treat, reverse, and prevent chronic diseases. That's the that's like the official definition of what lifestyle medicine is. What lifestyle medicine is to me is this really cool way of approaching health. And what I found from looking at lifestyle medicine and health from the 6 pillars standpoint. And when you talk about the 6 pillars, it's going to be nutrition, physical activity, sleep, stress reduction, healthy behaviors, and I already lost one. It'll come back to me. But anyways,
Friendship.
friendship. Oh, that's right. You got to be hang out with your tribe, and she's my tribe. All through COVID, every week we go running, we work together. It's pretty awesome. But anyways, when you put those together and you pursue those, it not only treats chronic diseases, it reverses chronic diseases, it prevents chronic diseases, and it also prevents some kind of cancers, certain types of cancers. People feel healthy. They feel so much better. So the simple and powerful therapy. So here are the 6 pillars: nutrition, sleep, exercise, avoiding risky substances, stress management, and having healthy relationships, like hanging out with Danny. And I also want to introduce to you this is called the Multicultural Wellness Wheel. And I want to let you know, and our pledge to all of you as instructors and wellness coaches is we'll always do our best to create an inclusive environment where all people feel welcomed and valued. And please let us know how we can serve your needs even better. And so we do our best to consider people's backgrounds, their preferred pronouns, their sexual orientation, race, religion, socioeconomic status, education, all of those things. And if at any time anyone feels like we're making suggestions that don't coincide and go well with their values or what their belief systems is or anything else, please let us know. So for each of you, I'd like you to think about how you feel right now. And this is the Vitality's sort of measure. And if you think about, if you could like write down on a piece of paper next to you how you're feeling as far as resilience, your ability to withstand adversity and keep going. And 10 being, voila, I feel awesome and I'm resilient and I can keep going. Or how I felt at the end of our run for another whole reason that we won't get into right now. Full on leg cramps from arches to the bottom of my buttocks. And I was like, Danny, and she's like, we're at 9.98. And I was like, I'm calling my husband to come pick me up. And so I wasn't feeling really resilient right then. But anyways, rest. Are you getting enough good rest and sleep? How is your sleep? And your relationships. Do you have healthy relationships? Do you have an ability to connect with people, even though it's COVID? Have you found ways to not feel isolated and to interact with people in a positive way? Any chemicals that you are using? Sometimes people have to take medications because they need them. Sometimes people take medications or other things and they don't actually need them medically, but they're relying on them as a crutch. And how are you feeling about your chemical uses? Activity, have you pursued physical activity in a good way? Would you like to be more physical active and have more physical activity ability? Sunlight. In Southeast Idaho, probably over in Boise too, I don't know, but in Southeast Idaho, at least 40% of the people we see are at low vitamin D. This is because we don't get a lot of sunlight and because of where we are latitudinally. And so how are you getting sunlight? People are starting to say that getting out in nature is as important as anything else that we're doing. Nutrition. Are you eating a healthy, balanced diet with 5 to 7 fruits and vegetables a day? And spiritual. How is your spiritual life? I recently heard a great definition of spiritual life by one of my favorite people, my BFF, not Danny, but my other BFF, Brene Brown. I wish I knew her, but I don't actually. And she talked about spirituality being the common pursuit by all humans to be in relationship with other people that are loving and supportive. And that spirituality is that connectedness. And how do we find connectedness to something that's greater than ourselves? And so again, it's like recognizing the interconnectedness of all of us, and how do we pursue that and find it? And she often talks about how for her, she goes to her church so that she will pass the peace with people she normally wouldn't pass the peace with because they are ideologically different. And so that's why she goes to church, and that's her spirituality. And she talks about, and my dad's spirituality is fishing. And I like to say something else too. I go to church, well, virtual church now, and that's how I express my spirituality as well as the daily reflections. And my husband goes to the GOD, the great outdoors. And so what is your spirituality, and how are you doing right now as far as vitality? Lifestyle medicine is really about, you see this image, and these 2 doctors or health professionals mopping up the floor. That mopping up the floor and that overflowing sink in the background are the chronic diseases and the stressors and cancers and things in our lives and our communities that are actually reversible and preventable. Instead of medical professionals mopping the floor, we really need to just walk over and turn off the faucet. So we have a huge chronic disease epidemic, and in the United States, 85% of all of the problems that we have are from lifestyle. And so now I'm going to talk about the first pillar, and the first pillar is healthful eating. And again, those are the six pillars. And so we're just talking about the healthful eating, which is whole food, plant-based. It's also, for some people, if you think about like veganism, so avoiding all animal products, it's similar to that. But for many that I know who are vegans, that in itself is sometimes a spiritual pursuit or religion. And this is really just about the scientific pursuit of, we are choosing to eat what is best for us. So my journey started in April 2018 at Idaho Academy of PA Conference. And I was there and I was listening to a doctor who I just met recently, and was telling her, oh, I was at this conference and this doctor changed my life. And she goes, that was me. And it was Dr. Schall's. She's from the Lifestyle Medicine Group in Meridian, St. Luke's Lifestyle Medicine Group. And she had a slide up that made such an impression on me. And on one side of the slide, on one axis was, obesity, heart disease, hypertension, some different cancers, all these awful things that none of us want to get. And at the bottom, you had whole food, plant-based diet, vegetarian, pescatarian, before pescatarian, you had ovo-lacto, pescatarian, meat eaters, all the way out to standard American diet, which is also, by the way, called SAP. And there was a 45-degree angle. And the closer that you got to whole food plant-based diet, the better it was for you. And that continued, and I thought, yeah, I can do better, but my husband's a hunter, and I don't know if I'm really ready to give up eggs, milk, and elk. But in Thanksgiving of 2018, I went to visit my daughter, in Ireland, and we had a completely vegetarian Thanksgiving, American Thanksgiving in Ireland. And I realized that I could actually eat well and go without a lot of the things that I thought I couldn't go out with. And so in January 2019, I became a vegetarian. And now the Instant Pot is my other BFF. Besides Danny and besides Brene, I have my Instant Pot. And so I continue to eat. And I'm not completely whole food plant based. I call myself a lacto, ovo, pesco, gamo vegetarian, otherwise known as a flexitarian. And I strive to be more towards whole food plant based. I'm not quite there yet. I don't know if I ever will be, but I continue to learn about how I can be better. Here's the leading causes of death. And so 80% is lifestyle: tobacco, poor diet, physical inactivity, excessive alcohol consumption. I love learning about the blue zones. Blue zones are places in the world where the communities live to be, the members of the communities live to be 100 or more years of age. And if you look at these blue zones, they all have certain things in common. They all eat really well, mostly whole food, plant-based. And if they eat meat at all, it's as a condiment or just a celebratory meal. They have faith-based communities, so they have that interconnectedness. They know their tribe. They get to hang out, yeah, that's right, with my running partner or my loved ones, Julia, my family, whomever. And these are some of the things that are central to the blue zones. Recently, I heard a presentation about trying to make a community in Colorado a blue zone. And I thought, that is so cool. I would like to make my little community, my husband and my community, but two of us, a blue zone. So I am now living sort of a blue zone challenge for the next 4 weeks. But I also would like other people to think about how they can help themselves to live more as like a blue zone, and then help create blue zones around them by helping other people. But do you have to be a vegan? Well, no, you don't have to be a vegan. And actually, what's fascinating about this slide is when you look at all of the data put together, the 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 type of diet that has the best outcome is actually sort of a medical Mediterranean diet. And when we look at the medical Mediterranean, and I say that medical as opposed to the pop culture Mediterranean diet, but when we look at how that is, there's a little bit of wine, there's a little bit of seafood, there's a lot of legumes and fresh fruits and vegetables. And as Michael Pollan says, eat food, not too much, mostly plants. So that is really my answer is, do you have to be a vegan? And then what are some of the community resources that are low cost or free to find legumes, vegetables, and fruits? One of the arguments against a whole food plant-based diet is that it's too expensive. And so I guess I wanted to explore that a little bit in our larger group, and I will turn off my slides in just a minute so we can talk about that. But then the other reason that I am very passionate about whole food plant-based is that it will help create a more sustainable earth, that the practices used in commercial meat production are harmful to our environment, and that it has been postulated that if Americans could give up beef, they can go eat chicken and whatever else. But if all Americans gave up beef, we would make the Paris Peace Accords within 5 years. And that has to do with not just the methane gas that's produced by cows, but also the transportation of the cows and beef, of how they're fed, and all of those things. And so looking at how can we create a blue zone for ourselves and our community and a more sustainable earth. So in overall, looking at lifestyle medicine, it's eat plants, keep moving, sleep well, be present, stay calm, and love people. And we have some guidelines for what those things are, but today we're just talking about nutrition, so we'll just keep it at that. And I'd like